Okay. So hello everyone again. We're just welcoming people in and we're going to do some Q and A and some introductions. And then I'll kind of talk you through the process of deciding which organization you're going to apply through. And what I was going to say is the reason why I kind of do that backwards. A lot of people come in with their course already planned. Maybe they've even taught it before, but they want to get CEUs for it, which is fine. We can work with that. But if you're starting from scratch, I recommend looking at the requirements first. And the reason why is because they can be really finicky about what topics they will allow. So if you already have a topic in mind, we may have to tweak it a little bit to make it work. But if you don't have any topic at all in mind yet, then I recommend looking at those requirements and content areas first so that you can see what they allow. Does that make sense? Like, for instance, one topic that I love to teach about. I love teaching about burnout and chronic stress. And in my state, that's completely fine. But like for ASWB, they don't allow burnout to be a topic, which I think is horrible. But so I wouldn't want to build out this whole big course with slides and everything only to find out that that's not something they approve. So that's why I start there. So, okay. Oh, Kathy's here. We'll let Kathy in. And I'll try to keep an eye on this waiting room to make sure that we let everybody in as they arrive. And if you're listening on the replay, we welcome you as well. Hi, Kathy.
I couldn't find the
Hi.
link. Sorry.
That's okay. Yeah, that's okay. And I know we have one other person who is coming in later, like in about a half hour. So I want to try to keep my eyes open for that to make sure everybody gets in. Okay, so why don't we start out with some introductions? I'll go first. I'm Michelle. I know a lot of you, but some of you I've never met. So I'm delighted to meet you. I am a clinical social worker in Columbus, Ohio. Not a very exciting place to live, but it's dreary and gray today, but right here in central Ohio. And I have been in private practice since 2010. So I'm in my 13th year of private practice. I do still have my practice. I do still practice clinically. And I also have a whole bunch of other income streams because I love to do a lot of different things. So as far as my practice goes, I specialize in working with perinatal mental health and birth trauma. I'm a certified EMDR therapist, and I'm also an EMDR consultant in training. So I do consultation and I teach CEUs. And I also am a writer for Choosing Therapy. And I just like to do a lot of different things, have a lot of different irons in the fire. So the way that this came about was I was teaching CEUs. I actually had started my first little side hustle was my coaching business. And I had started to offer coaching to moms, especially therapist moms, to help them recover from burnout. And I also started teaching CEUs, and I've taught CEUs for a long time in a lot of different ways. Like I've taught at big conferences and I've taught for other organizations. I even have taught for other professions. And during the pandemic, I became a CEU provider myself and started offering CEUs online. And a lot of people wanted to know how I do that. So that's how I kind of pivoted. And now I do more consulting on diversified income streams. And I love helping people get approved for CEUs because I am good at the red tape. I'm good at kind of the micro little navigating all those, making sure your T's are crossed and your I's are dotted. And not everybody likes to do that part. A lot of people like to have the big picture idea, and I'm here to help you get it done in a way that it'll get approved. So I've helped people get approved through ASWB, through NBCC, through their states, also through co-sponsorships. There are organizations out there that do co-sponsorships. That's something that we'll talk about as an option for you. And I even, in the last round of the mastermind, I even had an international provider who partnered up with one of the other providers here in the US to offer her CEUs internationally. So that's another beauty of this mastermind, is that we can partner with each other. For instance, if one of you is a counselor and wants to offer CEUs for social work, you can partner with a social worker to be your social work consultant and get approved for that as well. So that's it. We have more options with us working together. So that's that. And I will turn the mic over to whoever wants to go next. If you could just tell us a little bit about you and a little bit about your work and what you're kind of thinking as far as what you would like to get out of this mastermind. So who wants to be brave and go first? Kathy will go. Hi, Kathy.
Hi. Um, I have been writing a bunch of stuff, but I'm just about to release a training for testifying and helping therapists and any healthcare providers testify without fear, with confidence, or I don't know what my title's going to be, but I've spent years in the court. And so that's the big thing. I want to become a CEU provider. I also have a couple of courses for attorneys and how to help family law be more child-centered. And I don't even know what to do with that. That was just something that I did in my local bar association. I got invited to write a couple of trainings, and they're just sitting there recorded and have no idea what to do with them. But my main thing is the testifying training.
That is so good and so
Yeah.
important.
And the outlines are done for 2 webinars,
Okay.
and I'm going to launch my test pilot one in a month.
Okay,
So we'll see.
awesome.
Yeah.
And right before you came in, Kathy, we were talking about, and I think you and I talked about this over email too, that when you already have a topic like that that's already built out, we just might have to tweak it a little bit to make it fit. We'll look at the best options for getting your CEUs approved, because some will not approve anything that's like professional development,
Right.
NBCC
Oh, no.
will,
Yeah.
but others will not. And so we might have to put like just a tiny little bit of an ethics twist or a clinical
there is.
twist or
Oh,
perfect.
totally
Perfect.
about how you don't want to hurt your parent. I'm your parent. I'm thinking of my parenting class I'm doing too, which is live, so I can't do it for this.
Oh,
But the therapeutic client relationship can be affected, and privilege and
perfect.
all those things. So there's a bunch of ethics in it. Yeah. So it's
Wonderful.
good.
Yeah. So you might be
It's
able to
good.
get some ethics CEUs approved too.
Yeah. Oh,
And
absolutely. I
I
think.
love that. I had to testify once before the medical board, and I had a
Ah,
physician talk me through it, but it was terrifying. I
yeah.
mean, their whole MO is to discredit you and
Yeah.
to, question everything you do. And it's just, if you can help people navigate that, that'll be just wonderful.
And that's my fun. I'm a little weird this way because I was a social worker and was in the court for 3 years, is what's called a court officer. A lot of people are court officers, the liaison between social work and the judge in the court. And I train people how to testify in there. And it's the most gratifying. This sounds bad and I'll never say it in the training, but it is the most gratifying to me to sit there, have my composure, answer the questions exactly, counter them if they misquote me, and watch the vein or pop out on their forehead as they're frustrated that they can't get me.
Yeah.
They cannot rip me apart. It's like tight. So
That's
I know what that
awesome.
feels like. I just learned how to deal with attorneys. They're lovely people off the record, but boy, they're sharks in there if they want to be.
They are. I learned that in my medical board hearing that, they're just going after each other and then they all go to lunch. Like it is
Yes.
all a game.
Yes. Yeah, it is a game. It's all a game. And they know a heck of a lot less than you guys do. I mean, that's whatever you all are, whatever your backgrounds are. They don't know anything about therapy, family dynamics, kids, child development, just relational stuff. They don't know child abuse and how that works and what qualifies. They know nothing.
Right.
Because
Or
they just had me
diagnoses.
or diagnoses, right? Or whether I had one try to tell me that I'm an LMFT, and they tried to tell me I wasn't allowed to diagnose PTSD because only PhDs and MDs can do that.
Oh,
I had so
interesting.
much fun with them on the stand. Anyways, I have fun because I know how to get them indirectly, but be completely professional and not, Anyways, it's my passion.
I
It's
love
fine.
that. That's one of the things that I want everybody here to find, is that thing that lights you up like that. And when you can find that intersection of your training, your experience, your passion, and your own unique personality and life experiences, that is where you are going to shine, because that is where only you can teach your topic as you can. So, yay, Kathy. Awesome.
Thanks.
Is anybody a Legally Blonde fan? Anybody watch it? Okay, kind of maybe Legally Blonde 2. Anybody seen Legally Blonde 2? You know how they had the snap cut? Snaps for Kathy. That's what I just thought of. Okay, who wants to go next? Hi, Jessica.
I'll go. I'm in
Wonderful.
Wisconsin, so I know the dreary weather that you're going through. Although on the weekend it was 80 and today it's 30 and snowing. So we just
Mhm.
have such a variation. Spring will be here eventually.
Yes, it will.
I have been in practice like 10 years now. My first career was in finance. I am an LCSW, but then I have my PhD in clinical sexology. So yeah, very interesting.
Awesome.
But then my other specialty is that I'm a financial therapist. So sex and money. Don't tell people you do that at a dinner party. You'll be cornered and questioned about many things, and it's always about their friend.
Yeah, and it can probably get pretty awkward, I would think.
Yes, it does. Yes. I also have multiple streams of income. I blew up on TikTok, so I get a lot of money from influencer marketing and stuff like that. I think that would be interesting to run a course about at some point, but that's
Oh my
not
goodness.
my main objective. I've done podcasts about TikTok and just getting out there and stuff like that. So I think therapists need to do that instead of waiting forever, but I digress.
Oh no, that's so good. That's a topic that would really be timely and I think really popular because that's another thing we're keeping in mind too is what's marketable. We don't want to put just another boring CEU out there. We want to put something that's going to grab people. So
my other focus is something in the financial therapy for clinicians.
yeah,
Clinicians they're terrible with money. We have studies about that. So I think that, to have a CEU and to be able to provide it, I'm not clear entirely. So I'd love to resource from you guys, like what maybe comes up for you when you think of money, just to make sure, I'm creating something that would benefit other therapists and stuff like that. So
absolutely, yes. And that's what we're here for. And that is a perfect use of the mastermind is to brainstorm topic ideas, do a little market research. You can put something in the Voxer chat or the Facebook group or both. I usually put everything in both because some people like one, some like the other. But yes, definitely use us for that. That's so good.
And I am ADHD, so the Voxer chats, they might be 5 minutes of long-winded, me talking about something and then something else. And then finally I might land the plane, but just so you know, that's what I'm like.
Absolutely. I'm the same way. I'm a verbal processor. I'll try not to do that too much here because I'm here for you. But when I'm looking for support, I am definitely a verbal processor. And I recently was diagnosed with ADHD as well, which is why, we're multi-passionate. We want to do all the things. And it's a good thing. It's a gift. But you can burn yourself out if you take on too much.
Right.
So, okay, wonderful. What is your licensure, Jessica?
LCSW.
Okay. So, what's interesting about that is NBCC specifically has ethical use of social media as one of their content topics.
Okay.
But you would have to partner with a counselor to be your counseling consultant. Okay. which is great and wonderful. But on the social work side, that's going to be harder. You're going to have to spin it a little bit to be clinical or ethics. But yeah, NBCC actually has a whole section of professional development topics that they allow, like marketing and social media. Yeah, good. Which is really cool. Social work we can do it. Don't get me wrong, but we might have to put some spin on it.
Yeah. I know social work can be challenging just because it's a broader field. So it's not usually as in line with private practice as maybe the other ones. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and just so everybody knows, if your topic is clinical, it's most likely going to be approved anywhere you try to get it approved. If it is clinical practice, clinical skills, diagnosis, direct mental health topics are going to get approved. But things like this, financial therapy, the sexology, that's clinical. That will not be a problem. the other stuff you do is really interesting and cool, and we might have to get more creative with how
Okay.
it gets approved.
Oh,
Okay?
that's why I had to come to a mastermind, because I always gotta do it difficult. Yeah.
Yeah, well, I'm so glad you're here.
Thank you.
Who wants to go next? Over on the left side of my screen. Hi, Sasha.
Hello, hi everyone. I am Stasia, and I am located in Georgia, the Metro Atlanta area, but out a little outside of the Atlanta area. I've been in practice for a little over 9 years. It'll be 10 years this year. And I've been doing some private practice since 2016, but I launched my own private practice in 2019. And I started off just doing some part-time work, and now I am full-time solo and just hired my first independent contractor. So we
How
are
exciting.
growing.
Yay!
It's a lot of work. So I'm learning
Mm.
the business learning curves. And I'm really excited to be here just as I want to obviously educate. I want to do some training, some CEU trainings. I've got some experience doing some trainings for a position that I worked at for an agency, and I absolutely loved it. And so I'm wanting to do more of that for my practice. So I specialize in early childhood trauma. A lot of people know me for play therapy. I typically I work with children 6 and under is a little bit of my specialty. So there's a lot that I can do with that. I just don't know how to pick myself down.
Okay.
I really love the parenting portion. I love supporting the teachers, which is a lot of the trainings that I did through the agency. And then just helping people understand how it shows up in children that young and their behavior. So I'm excited to be here.
Yay, that's so exciting. That is wonderful. And we all know that resources for working with children are so needed, always so needed. So that's great. And so, one thing that I always recommend is if you have a lot of ideas, that's wonderful. Sky's the limit. You can take this as big as you want to go. If you want to be a little mini Tessie and have a CEU empire, you can do that. Or if you just want to teach a course every now and then and make a little bit of extra money, you can do that. But I suggest picking a place to start. Just picking one to start with, and we can help you narrow that down.
Awesome.
Okay, who wants to go next, Samantha or Laura?
I can
Samantha.
Oh, wait.
Go ahead, Samantha.
Oh, okay. I go by Samantha or Sam, whichever. But yeah, I'm currently in Northern Virginia, Fairfax, Virginia, just outside of DC. And I'm licensed, I'm an LCSW licensed in Virginia and Alaska. Military spouse, so we moved from Alaska to DC. Husband works in DC. So I've been in private practice since the pandemic, so going on 3 years. But before that, I was contracting with the military, working in inpatient, outpatient, and I worked at the community hospital. Like all of my experience has been in Alaska. And so coming here to DC, hearing Kathy talk about lawyers, I'm just like, yep, I've run into those here in DC. It's so much faster pace here, and I've had some good lawyer clients, and some of them you have to really challenge them. So kind of get into their emotional brain a little bit and out of their logical. But anyway, my specialty is trauma work, military, first responders. I'm EMDR certified, and yeah, that's another thing. So my CEUY income stream desire thing, I've noticed that there's not a lot of providers out there or therapists out there that serve the same populations as I do. I've been trying to do networking outreach. I know very small population of other therapists who specialize in the same field. So I'm just like, oh, why not, teach a training or a course, like a cultural competency type of thing. for therapists or providers who desire to work with this population, but don't understand the population or don't, because I've had clients where they come to me and they said, yeah, the previous therapist, like I didn't feel heard, or they were invalidating, and so it kind of broke my heart. I was just like, wow, and so that's kind of why I'm here is, I spoke to Michelle about, maybe implementing something like that. So, yeah, and I'm well burnt out. I love EMDR. I love trauma therapy, but I've always been like a 2-3 job kind of gal. I used to, before social work, I was bartending, waitressing, sales supervisor, and then, doing this. I'm just like, gosh, I really want to do something else. And so yeah, kind of where I'm at.
Awesome. Yeah, and I think that's probably why a lot of us are here, right? Because just doing 40 hours a week of therapy sessions, we love our work, but it's so emotionally heavy. And
Yeah.
I feel like since the pandemic, it's gotten even more so. So I'm trying to get to a really small caseload. I'd love to have like 5 to 10 therapy clients a week.
Yeah, I think I told you in our consultation that my caseload is kind of dwindling down as we get to the summer months. And I'm like, oh, this is my time. Like, this is where I could step in and really, focus on this mastermind and start, doing this, and instead of trying to increase my client caseload just to make income. So
Absolutely.
yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah, and I have always found that for one reason or another, when I do that, it backfires. Like I'll try to increase my client caseload and I'll end up with, claims don't get paid because I didn't stay on top of insurance. Or you know what I mean? Like that never has seemed to work for me to
Yeah.
just see more clients.
I've been trying to diversify. I'm an independent contractor with like 7 different companies. So like I said, that mindset of like I want to be in more than one place. So I like independently contract out of a group practice in Alaska. The owner's actually a friend of mine as well, and she's my EMDR consultant. And then I contract with 2 nonprofits that serve the military population, and then do EAP with Lyra, and then so yeah, I'm kind of all over, but it's just like it's still the same work. Like,
Yeah, you're right.
what am I doing?
You're
So,
right.
so yeah,
Okay. Well, welcome. We're so glad you're here.
thank you.
And Laura, it's your turn.
Yeah, thank you. Welcome. It's so nice to meet everybody and hear your stories and some of your passions. And Michelle, I haven't filled out that form because I
That's
literally
okay.
just decided I was going to do this morning. I had read a lot about what you were offering before, and then kind of went to the back burner, and then it came up. You know how things enter your life, and sometimes at the moment when it's needed. So I will fill that out so you know a little bit about me.
No worries. No worries. And it's a lot of what we're talking about here, like what's your licensure? What are you thinking about for your topic? So that's fine. No hurry.
Yeah, great. So yeah, I'm a licensed clinical social worker in Illinois. I live in Oswego, Illinois. It's a little town outside of Naperville. Most people know Naperville, so I'm not Naperville, but I'm close to Naperville. I am a full-time professor at Aurora University. And I opened a private practice in the summer. Took a long time to get paneled. Which was really frustrating, but finally got my paneling through and began to see clients about October, November. I also have 3 therapists that are W-2 employees that work for me. So they are, pulling in cases and seeing clients. And I also am seeing clients. And exactly what you just said, Michelle, I'm like, I could really go hard into like getting my caseload up to 20 and then having my other 3 therapists up to, 4, 5, 6 clients. They're just part-time 1 day a week. And the numbers might match then, like where I want to be to start earning profit and things like that. But I don't want to stay just in that zone. And I think I have some skills to offer with CEUs. And when I created my website, I actually created my title of my company, my agency. I put consulting and mediation. I'm also a trained mediator through Northwestern University, so I'm trying to grow that part of my business too. And then the CEUs, it just makes sense. I mean, the other day I sat in my office and I created an entire presentation for my vulnerable children and families course. And I just did it off the top of my head, pulled resources together. And I thought, I have this skill, I'm teaching. So why don't I do this CEUs? I just don't know where, like a question I have is, how did you get into my email? Like, how did I find you?
Mm-hmm.
How do I do that? How do I,
Yeah,
so people then will register for my CEUs.
absolutely. Yes.
Yeah.
And we will talk about marketing. We
Yeah.
definitely will. Um,
Yeah. So really I'm my kind of my area of focus, like you said, to pick one, that's hard. I think I want to go towards supporting therapists who work with families who have lost someone to suicide. So I have a lot of experience with that. I run a support group here in Aurora. And I think that's something that isn't out there a whole lot. Is kind of a specialty. And then like is it Stasia? Stasia said, trauma is also my specialty. I've been in child welfare for 20 years and I teach the trauma classes, the child welfare classes, vulnerable children. And so trauma is another area that I'd like to go. And one other idea that I want to throw out there that you, maybe all of you would like to, I have this desire to run a book club, but I want to have CEUs incorporated. So you have clinicians that are like, I never have time to read. I want to read, but I also need CEUs. And how can I do that? So it's kind of fun. I'm doing CEUs. I'm the social worker. I'm providing it. They are paying for it, but they're also reading a book, like a trauma book or some sort of real clinical book, but we're discussing it and they get CEUs. So that's kind of another idea.
That's an awesome idea. I love that so much. And you can get, this is kind of next level CEUs, is you could do a hybrid where they could get credit for reading the book and get credit for the, the training that you do that's attached to it. But, and I know one for sure that will allow those is ASWB, and you are a social worker, so that would be a natural fit. It is a little trickier though. If anybody else is thinking about anything that is truly something that they digest on their own, like they read, you have to have an extra step, which is a pilot test. You have to have several people actually go through that process so that you can say exactly how long it takes to read it.
Okay.
And some will do something like 5,000 words is with so many CEUs, so it gets a little trickier when you add that, but you can do it. And I think that's a really cool idea.
Thank you.
Yeah. Has anybody heard of Clearly Clinical? Does anybody follow them? The podcast? Yeah, it's a podcast that you can get CEUs for. And the podcast is free to just listen, but you can join their membership. It went up recently. I think it's around $100 a year. And you can actually just jump on their website and take post tests after listening to the podcast, and you get CEUs. And they have really good training. So there are definitely creative ways to do this. I love the idea of a book club. I've never seen anybody do that quite like that. So I really love that idea. Okay, good. All right, we will see if Stephanie pops in. There's one more new member this round named Stephanie who said that she'd be here late. So I'll keep my eyes open for her, but I'm just going to pop over here and show you the course. Everybody should have access to the course. If you did not get it, let me know and I'll make sure you get your login info. And I'm talking about the Diversify Your Income with CEUs course, which is a self-paced course. And I decided to include it in the mastermind because it has a lot of resources. So let me share my screen and I'll just show it to you. Has anybody actually gotten in there yet and clicked around at all? Yeah, a little bit, a couple of you. Okay. I'll just quickly show you what's in there. Like I said, just email me if you don't have access. I'll make sure you get your login and then you can just start that and save it somewhere because there's a lot of stuff in here that you will find helpful. And the idea of the mastermind is you could conceivably never even look at this course and just go through it live with me. Every couple of weeks, we'll have something that we're working on. We'll have action steps. We'll have support. But there's a lot in this course that can just help you. Like, for example, there's ready-made templates for things like your sign-in sheet. It's going to save you a lot of time. So let me share. And if you are listening to the replay, I apologize. I'm just pulling up the course. Can everybody see it? Got it? Okay, perfect. I got a thumbs up. Okay, so these beginning stuff, I'm just introducing myself. This is my story. I kind of told you that. This whole first module is just a giant pep talk. And this is something for you that you can go to when you're starting to feel like, I can't do this. You know, imposter syndrome will try to creep in on you, but I make the argument that as long as you're being your authentic self, imposter syndrome is not real. You are not an imposter. So if you start to feel like, I can't do this, I'm an imposter, who am I to teach these people? What do I think I'm doing? Go to module 1, okay? Because this hits all of us at some point. And the more you do, the more you put yourself out there, I promise you this will try to get you. And it's our brain's way of trying to keep us safe and keep things status quo. And you're trying to do something bigger. So you will probably have these moments, and just know that it's not real. It's just, you know, your brain trying to keep you safe. And go to module 1 and listen to some of these pep talks here. And this mountain meditation is really cool. It's a 10-minute guided meditation. It's one of my favorites. Okay. And then module 2 is the stuff that we're going to be working on these first 2 weeks, which is looking at our options. A lot of this is on that Google Doc too. I made that Google Doc for you where I just put all the links you need, everything you need, the agenda, but it's all here in the course as well. So I always recommend that everybody check out your state board, at least look at your state board requirements so you know what they are. And there is a spreadsheet in here that I made that my niece helped me with. That was really fun. It's a work in progress, so I don't have everything on here, but I'm constantly adding to it. Oh, Stephanie's here. Oh, I'm going to let her in real quick. Hi, Stephanie. Okay, she's coming in. Hi, Stephanie. I don't know if you can hear me. There you are. Hello, hello.
Yes. Hi, everyone. Sorry I'm late.
No worries. I'm glad you're here. We knew you were coming, and I'll have you introduce yourself in just a minute. But what we've done so far, we did introductions, and there will be a replay so you can catch up. And I was just showing you, can everybody still see my screen? I'm showing you the Diversify Your Income with CEUs course, which you all have access to. And I'm just kind of showing you what's in there. It's anything that we do, we can just do live in the mastermind, but this is all stuff that's going to help you and support you. So I was just showing you this list, CEU approvals by state. I add to this as I go. There was no way I could sit down and come up with 50 states, 4 different boards for each. So I'm just building it as I go. So if anybody's is not on here, let me know, and I would love to help you find it. And I can add it to the sheet. But you'll just look for your state and your board. And what I usually suggest is that that's oftentimes a good place to start. Even if you're going for something bigger like ASWB or NBCC, I also recommend getting your state if your state does offer pre-approval. And the reason why is because most states will accept other states' pre-approval. So not only would you have your ASWB or your NBCC, if you have at least one state, then you'll have a lot of states. You know what I mean? And I recommend starting with your state because you most likely already know people in your state. So that's one of your pieces of homework for week 1 is to just take a look at your state. And if you don't see it here, send me a message. I'll help you find it. And I'll show you, for example, Ohio. I am kind of fortunate in the sense that my board is a counseling, social work, marriage, family therapist board. So my CEUs are good for all 3. But if you click here, you know, it's just their page about their process. Some states approve CEUs, some don't. So you'll want to see if they do or don't. Some don't require it. They just require that you follow their criteria. So let's check that out for everybody here, okay? Now let me go back
Is this for online too, not just?
Yes,
Okay.
it's for online as well. So there's several different types of CEUs you can do. You can do live in person, live online. You can do on demand. You can do something like what right before you hopped in, Stephanie, Laura was talking about possibly doing a book club type CEU, which would be a truly asynchronous where they're reading something. So there are lots of different ways to do it. And they are going to all be in these same links, but there may be different requirements. For instance, if you do an on-demand CEU, which I highly suggest because it's passive income for you, you'll have to have a post test. If you do a live CEU, you won't need a post test. So, like I said, I just wanted to show you what's in the course. So here's all the CEU approval. Then we've got the national organizations in the US. That's your ASWB. I don't think we have any MFTs here, so this won't be a big thing, but AAMFT does not approve CEUs. And then also in week 2, we're going to really start narrowing down your topic.
I'm an LMFT.
Oh, perfect. Okay, so
I was like waving at you.
Oh, yeah. Sorry, I didn't see.
It's okay.
AAMFT does not pre-approve CEUs, but a lot of the state MFTs do.
Okay.
And you can still apply for other professional organizations as well.
Yeah, I know. You've got California on your list, right?
I think I do. Yeah, I think
Okay.
CAMFT is not an impossible one.
I think it's CA. Yeah, CAMFT, and I know I'm familiar with the process. They have a thing on their website.
Okay.
I have to do.
Great. Okay. So all this is in here, and I would recommend for now, just start there for now. That's enough. Look at your state, think about your topic, deal with any mindset stuff that comes up. I would suggest keeping a journal. And then as we go into the modules, there's more about the actual course delivery, even going into detail of what platforms you can use to host it on. And I had some wonderful friends make some bonus videos for me about dealing with nerves, how to deal with nerves that come up, how to present over Zoom and use breakout rooms and all that fancy stuff. So there's a ton in here for you. But for right now, I would say check out modules 1 and 2. Okay, let me
Michelle,
unshare. Yeah.
I have a question. So
Sure.
when you're applying for CEU approval,
Mhm.
are you applying for each training you're going to do, or do I apply as like perspectives, counseling, consulting, and mediation, my agency, so then I can give CEUs for whatever I do, but before I do it, I have to submit my objectives and get them approved? Like, how does that work?
That is such a great question, and it brings up multiple points.
Okay.
So the first thing
jumping ahead.
No, that's good. I just wanted to show you what the course looks like so you know how to get around in there, and then we can go to Q and A. So this is perfect. Okay, so 2 things I want to talk to you about. One is your CEU business, because that's something you'll want to think about early in the process, because you mentioned doing it under your agency or your group practice. And then the other thing is a single course versus a provider. So there are 2 ways that you can get CEUs approved. One is to get a single course approved, which means, yes, every course will have an application, it'll have objectives, and it'll have all the materials that go along with it for each and every course that you do. But you can also, for a lot of organizations, become a provider, which means that you can approve courses. So somebody with a group practice, you could become a provider, and then people on your team could teach the courses. And anything you do for that period of time that you're approved, 1 year or 2 years, you do not have to seek approval every time. So if you've ever been to a conference where they say CEUs are sponsored by XYZ, that means that those people went through each of those courses to make sure that they meet criteria. They did not have to send it to the organization. So, but I'll use Ohio for an example. I do my courses as single course because it's cheaper. It's only $60 a course. Like ASWB is $125, so it is cheaper. Another thing is because I have a counselor, social work, MFT board, I'd have to partner with a counselor and an MFT to be a provider for that whole board, but I can do single courses just myself. So does that make sense? Like there are different criteria depending which way you go. Yes, Kathy.
Can we do, so we sort of talked about that in the email. So if I
Yeah.
want to cross over to all the licensing boards for this,
Yeah.
testifying applies to everybody, and get into the medical board, but that's another issue. So
Uh-huh.
I can do that. If I do single case, I don't need to partner with people.
Well, I'm saying in Ohio, I don't because I have a CFT, MFT, LISW board.
Oh, okay.
You know, if you're what's your licensing board?
Camped.
Oh, right.
Oh, BBS, the BBS in California.
So who, yeah, so I guess we would find out who all those BBS CEUs are good for.
They're contracting out to the ethics board. So Camped is handling all of our LMFT. I don't know who's doing LCSWs,
Yeah.
PhDs, and LPCCs. So
Okay. Yeah, so that's something we can talk about and
Okay.
look at. Yeah,
thanks.
probably.
I just heard that and I'm like, really? That'd be great.
Yeah. So the worst case scenario is like if you wanted to apply for ASWB, you'd need a social worker to work with. And by work with, I just mean you'd have to kind of partner with them and they'd have to look over your course and make sure it meets the criteria. That's all. And you have to give their name on your application.
Okay.
So if you wanted to cross over.
Okay.
Okay.
Thanks.
So, but for now, I think a really good place to start is to check out your state, your license. And then, so the other thing that Laura was asking about, there's a single course application and then there's a provider. Some of them, especially the bigger ones, but we have to look at each one individually. That's what makes this complicated is there are hundreds of different options and combinations. So that's why I put together the mastermind as a small group that we can, you know, I can help you find out what your options are. And when I do individual consultation, that's a lot of what I do is let's figure out what your options are because everybody's are different, which I think is really, I mean, it just brings to my attention how divided we are as a profession in the United States.
Mhm.
You know, like depending what state you're in, what license you have, everybody has different options. Like one person might be applying for Kansas and ASWB. Someone else might be applying for CAMFT and partnering with a friend who's a social worker to apply for NASW, or you know what I mean? So, one other thing I wanted to mention about that is that when you do, some require that you have done a certain number of courses before you can apply to be a provider.
Mhm.
So like you have to do 3 individual ones before you apply to be a provider. So we'll look at each one individually and I'm more than happy to help you navigate that. But the other thing you said set off a little bell in my mind about, you know, doing it through your business name or your practice. This is something you want to think about now is what name do you want to put your CEUs under? Do you just want it to be your name? You know, like, is it Michelle Risser, LISW? Because that is what's going across the top of your certificate. That is what you have to have on your marketing materials. Because when they check your application, they're going to make sure all that matches. It's what's going to be on all of your stuff, your sign-in sheets, you know, your branding on the course itself. And because that is the business that is approved for the CEU. So if you want to go bigger and actually become a provider, then you want to think about that now. Do you want to use a different name? And the reason this came up for me recently is I've done CEUs in the past under my name, Michelle Risser, LISW, Inc., which is my therapy business. But I have a DBA under that business called Strong Blossom Inc., which is just something I grabbed a long time ago. I thought it was a cool name. And I decided to start doing CEUs under Strong Blossom Inc. And I found out that I'm starting over because it's a new entity name.
Oh, sure.
See what I mean? So I'm just suggesting, like, think about it now, what you want your CEU company to be called. And it's easier to just start there. You can do your practice name. You can,
because I purposely, I have my FCT, which is my group, and then I have Himlin Consulting. I just started. So I can just do that, but I don't list my licenses even after my name. because of our licensing board is so obnoxious in California, and I purposely separated it out. So this is education and this is counseling. So is that okay?
Yes. So your
Okay.
CEU company is going to be Hemlin Consulting.
Yeah.
But your presenter is going to have to be Kathleen Hemlin LMFT.
Okay. That's
Make
fine.
sense? So it's kind of like
Yes.
you're, and all of us are in private practice, I believe, or, you know, some level of business ownership. So you know how that works. It's like there's you as the business owner, but then there's you as the therapist, you know, like I have an S Corp, so I'm an employee of myself. In this case, it's going to be you as the CEU company, and then it's going to be the presenter. So, and most of the time starting out, that'll be one and the same. So your application will say Hemlin Consulting is the business, and it'll want your tax ID and all that. And then it'll be, but Kathleen Hemlin will be the presenter.
So if I decide to go the business route with like I apply through my business name, Perspectives Counseling, Consulting, and Mediation, then can I put myself and my 3 therapists under so that they can do the CEUs?
No.
It just have to be me.
Well, no. Like, okay. Such a good question. So that name, that business name would be across the top of your certificate. But when you're applying for a course, if it's a single course application, or if you are approving a course as a provider, only the presenters of that specific talk are going to be listed on it. Okay. So the only way you'd have everyone's name is if all 4 of you were presenters, and that would be messy. I wouldn't suggest 4 presenters, but you could, I guess, if you wanted. Or maybe, but even if you did like a big all-day conference with 4 different presenters, each course is going to have a separate certificate.
Right.
So the business name is across the top, but then presented by is just who presented it. And those are going to be different for each class that you teach.
Yeah.
It's not going to be like, here's all the people who could possibly teach under me. No.
Okay.
Okay. What other questions do people have? These are great questions. We're just digging in right away.
Yeah, so I just want to clarify. So, so not the presenter, the CEU company, is it recommended to be separate from your private practice?
It does not need to be. This is one of the things that I love about this as a diversified income stream, is that it's not like coaching where it has to be separate. You teaching CEUs is attached to your license. So, you know, it's perfectly fine that it be under your therapy practice.
Okay, that's what I thought. So it would be, so my practice is Waves of Courage Counseling LLC. That will be the company, and the presenter is Samantha Geppa.
Exactly.
Okay. Exactly. I just want to make sure.
Yeah.
I was like, oh no, I'm gonna have to create a whole different, because I was looking at coaching and I was like, oh my gosh, I'm gonna have to create a whole like
oh, I know.
And it's maybe one day, but like right now I'm just like, I don't know.
Oh, I hear you. I know. It gets so complicated, and it's very meta because I'm actually working with you right now under my coaching business. But when I talk to you about the CEUs I've taught, that's under my therapy business. Which is all, you know, just where do we put it? You know, like which bank account does it go into? But I guess where it's important is in the separation of, I'm not acting as your therapist right now. I'm acting in a coaching consulting role, and I'm helping you in your business. Whereas if I were standing in front of you teaching a CEU and giving you credit, I would be a therapist.
Right. Okay. That makes sense.
It's like, am I using my license or not? And for CEUs, you can. And that's what makes this such a great place to start.
Great. Thank you.
Yeah, you don't need a whole separate business. One thing you will want to check on, though, is does your liability insurance cover teaching? I've heard a couple that are persnickety about that. Mine does. I have American Professional, and as long as it's on a mental health topic. So this gets tricky with Jessica. I think it was you do the financial work, right? So like it can get tricky there because they said, you know, if you're teaching a money management class, it might not be covered under your liability because your liability is for mental health. So if it's, you know, and there are other insurance things that you can add on
I did add on
okay.
coaching and yoga just in case.
Perfect. Perfect. Exactly.
Just in case, I was like, that's fine. I'll pay the extra premium in the
Exactly.
case that I do get into like coaching or
Yes.
yoga coaching, whatever. So yeah.
Wonderful. And I just did an extra little policy under Hiscox. They're really good with stuff like this. For my coaching business, which it's a very small, it's like $97 a year, I think, or something. And it's called an errors and omissions policy. It's not malpractice like what we need as a therapist. So it'd be worth a call just to say, hey, do you cover me when I'm teaching CEUs?
Okay.
Sure.
Yeah.
What other questions? Any other questions coming up right now? I see a doggy tail in the background. Sam's screen. I love seeing people's pets.
He's
Stephanie,
good.
did you have a question? Oh, hi, baby. Oh,
He's my old man. Hey,
what a
bud.
cutie. What a cute gray face.
Thank you.
Stephanie, did you have a question?
Yeah, sorry if you went over this before, but
That's okay.
I took CEUs on, I think it's something called Vimeo, or probably not saying this right, or IMEO. Is this something like that? Like like do you have to contact them individually, or does that actually, I took a training there, but I don't remember there's any CEUs then. I think like a therapist like advertised their webinars on there. Is that something that you could do CEUs on, or like a platform like that?
Yeah. So before I answer your question, I'll just say bye to Stasia because you're going to be taking off, and that's fine. You're always welcome to stay as long as you like and go when you need to, and I'll always put the replay up. So I'm so glad you were here. Okay, so Stephanie, back to your question. I wonder if you were talking about a co-sponsorship. Are you saying that someone put their CEU on a website that had a lot of different CEUs?
Yes.
Okay, so there are some co-sponsorships out there. That is one of the options that we talk about. There is a company called CE Classes that some people I've worked with have worked with, and they are really good. The way that works for them is they are already the CEU provider, and you would submit your course to them for approval, and they would host it on their website, and they would take a cut. CE Classes their cut is $300 per class, which sounds like a lot, but if you're going for APA costs over $1,000 to get started. APA is really expensive. So if you're going for APA, I highly recommend reaching out to them to do a co-sponsorship. When you do a co-sponsorship, remember how I talked about the name across the certificate? Their name is going to be the name across there because they are the provider of the CEUs. You are the presenter. So you're having a different company that you're working with and a lot of times our state chapters of our national organizations, like your state MFT or your state NASW, will do co-sponsorships as well. Yes, Kathy.
If you're a member of APA, do you have to still be sponsored? I mean,
it's a different thing. Being a member of APA has nothing to do with being approved for CEUs.
Okay.
So what I'm saying is, now they may give you a discount or something if you are a member. But you still would have to apply to be an APA CEU presenter. And yeah, I'll have to look to see if there is a discount. But it's like there's a pretty significant fee for the first time you do a CEU. It's like $500 to get pre-qualified. And then the courses themselves are several $100s, and they only approve them twice a year. So it's tough. So even if you're a member of APA, it might make sense to do it through a co-sponsorship. Does that make sense? Kathy, does that answer your question? Okay. All right. What other questions do you have?
If you're licensed in multiple states, I could do like should I do one state because they could kind of cross, whatever,
Yes.
instead of just trying to, okay, because I'm looking at both the states and licensing and I'm like, which one's going to be easier?
Exactly. Yeah. I'm a big fan of lowest hanging fruit as a place to start so that you're not getting bogged down in a lot of barriers and obstacles. So if you're licensed in multiple states, do whichever one is easier.
Okay. Thank you.
Absolutely. Like one person I know was licensed in multiple states, and one of those states did not require pre-approval for CEUs. So she just started offering that as a place to start.
I'm looking at Virginia's and it doesn't say how to pay or what the cost is. It looks simple. It's just like, what's the subject, how many hours, course title, provider,
Yeah.
and is the syllabus or description attached? Is it online or in person? And then it just says to submit. I'm like, okay, cool. Like, does it cost anything? Is that normal? Like, do they all cost, or are there some states that like, as long as you submit it?
They usually do cost something, but not always.
Okay.
You might want to you might want to send an email and just say if
I'll
there are
send an
costs.
email.
Yeah.
So Alaska's pretty straightforward with their applications, surprisingly, but so yeah, it costs like $50 and then yeah. Okay.
Yeah. And that's not bad. It's not bad at all considering,
Yeah.
that's depending how long your CEU is, how much you charge for it. But one or two participants one time are going to pay for that.
Yeah.
Depending how you do it, it could be even less than that,
That's
Just
true.
So, okay, what other questions do people have?
Do you, and maybe this has been answered and I didn't get this
That's
far, but do
okay.
you, I always thought I was building it out and I had to get my slides done or at least have some things done first. So I'm just about ready to put things on slides because don't we have to submit samples for some of them?
This is a really good question. Sometimes a lot of the national ones like
NCUU or whatever that
NBCC or
NBCC is
ASWB. Yeah, they
whatever they are.
may want to see everything, your slides, but a lot of times what I'll suggest that you do there is if you start with your state, just get it sent out so that it can get approved. And then you can start building your slides so that process can get underway. And then once it's approved and your slides are built, then you can submit it to the national organization.
Nice. So
that
I'm
way
right
you're
on
getting
time.
Yeah, exactly. And that way you're getting it out into the world sooner too, if you start with one that does not require you to turn in everything from the start.
Okay.
Most states don't. They want to see a detailed agenda, an outline. They want to see your objectives, but they don't usually want to see all your slides. But a lot of times the national organizations will.
Okay, thanks.
Okay, so starting points, action steps is I would suggest taking a look at your state, which some of you already are, and starting to think about your topic. And we will not meet next week. We'll meet every other week, but in between, use that Voxer chat, use that Facebook group, run your ideas by us, reach out to me, let me know how I can help. And I also wanted to say that I front load a lot of this application stuff so that we can get those turned in, because sometimes they take a couple months to hear back. So the beginning of this is going to feel very like navigating bureaucracy and paperwork, and because I just want to help you get those turned in as soon as possible. And then you have time to kind of take a breath and think about things like marketing and, what platform you're going to host it on. And you can think about more of those nuts and bolts once that application's turned in. Let's get them turned. And I want to encourage you to go at your own pace. There is no rush. It just feels front loaded for those of you who really do feel motivated to get it out there as quickly as possible. You'll be able to. So around weeks 4 and 5, we're going to start turning in applications. But if you're not there yet, that's okay. There's no pressure to be there. It's just if you want it out there in 12 weeks, that's when you want to turn it in. Okay. So
is this silly to like say if I just apply to both states that I'm licensed in just to see which one I get approved,
That's not silly at all. No.
So
And
if I
you'll-
do get approved, is that a conflict? I'm sorry.
Oh, no, it's not a conflict. It's totally fine. It's going to give you, even though, like I said, multiple states will accept each other's states, having that pre-approval is good marketing. Like you could put out there, this course is approved for Alaska and Virginia.
Oh, true. Okay.
And that most other states will also accept it as well. So, and then you can really market to those Alaska and Virginia people, and people like having that peace of mind of knowing it's pre-approved,
That's true.
you know?
Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. Someone who was in the earlier cohort she found that in her state, which was Kansas, it was not required to be pre-approved, but they offered it as something that you could do just to show like this course is going to count for CEUs. There's no question. And she chose to go ahead and do it because it's really good for marketing. A lot of people like that peace of mind. Okay, I've got a couple questions in the chat here. My states say attach a course description, syllabus for each course. Yeah, you don't have to bill it out, just an outline. Yep. And they usually want a specific outline with times. They want a timed agenda. So for 5 minutes, we're going to do introductions. And then for 10 minutes, we're going to talk about, this. And it doesn't mean that won't vary slightly. You're human, but they want to see how you're spending that time in that CEU. And if you are taking a break, you have to add that on it at the end. I don't know any that will. There are some that'll say like 50 minutes is close enough to an hour, but some are very rigid about like, if you take a 5-minute break, you got to go 5 minutes over. Anything else for today? Okay. Yeah, go ahead.
That the time was something I wanted to know. So we can, the person I'm working with, it's helping me edit to make sure it sounds like a layperson can understand it, whatever you call that editing. She's going through and doing that for me right now, which isn't in my profession. She said 50 minutes would be fine because there's Q and A. So can you put Q and A at the end?
Yes, you can.
Okay. Because
yes,
it's really
you can.
2 1-hour webinars from what I can tell so far. I mean, I've written 24 pages. I'm assuming that, I don't know, unless I read out all the glossary of definitions of terms, it's going to be about 2 hours total, 2 separate webinars. And to leave time,
absolutely do that. I put things like Q and A discussion, or I'll allow like 10 minutes for discussion, 5 minutes for Q and A. Okay. And then I always keep a couple things in my back pocket, which this will come later. But if it goes faster than I think, or I don't have as many questions, I'll always have a couple, writing prompts or small group discussion questions or something. I'm always worried about going too fast and getting done too soon, rather than going over.
How? Thank you. How do you and tell me to shut up if I'm asking too many
questions. No, you're doing great.
You have a lot. How, because I'm in the middle, it's almost done, like I said. How do if I end up having 2 separate ones and they really need to be digested in 2 separate, I don't want to sit there for 2 hours and pummel them with this information. They don't get their CEUs till they finish the second one, correct? Because they're connected. They have to do both. Okay.
So it's going to depend, but what you're describing is a series.
Yeah.
So, and you're going to market it and apply for it and treat it as one course that is delivered in a series.
Right.
And they will not get their CEUs so they have to pay one price.
Right.
It's one marketing material. It's, or one flyer, whatever you want to call it.
Right.
It's one certificate, like it's one thing, but it's delivered in a series, which is different than multiple courses that are all separate.
Right.
Yeah. Yep, that's called a series.
And then again, anybody else, I'm just like so much. I have another thing I'm going to do, which is called a mock trial, and I've got to write scripts for it and all that, and where I'm gonna have actors, and they're gonna be judges, attorneys, because you got to go through this. It's an experiential process to learn this. So I'm hoping people want to do it. I don't know, but I'm going to try it. And then can I do CEUs for something like that as well? Because they're going to actually testify. I'm going to I'm not going to give them a script. The actors are going to put them through a mock trial for like a half hour, and then I'm going to have teaching after that, processing for like a half hour at least. So it's going to be that, and then there's people in the audience to watch it. So
Yeah, the videos could absolutely be part of your training.
the videos.
Or you're doing it live? Oh,
in
okay.
person. Yeah.
Then that would absolutely be part of your training.
Okay.
Yeah.
But a separate training that I haven't developed.
I was thinking videos, which would work too, right? You could get those, like the first time you do it live, maybe you could record it and then have it as an on-demand.
Oh, right. But it's just one person up there that's someone who's going to pay whatever. It's weird. I got to figure it out. But it's going to be a therapist or whatever on the hot seat. Part of it is to go through it. And I really want them to be, but I guess I didn't think of turning it into a tape thing. Wow.
See, what I like to do is I like to teach it live the first time. That way you're getting paid to present it that first time, and then to record it and then use that as an on-demand training. And you may have to apply again or pay an additional fee, but you don't have to do any additional work. It's already built, and then it's an asynchronous training and it's passive income.
And I can still have the mock trials because they're very important to do in person, but they can have one if they want to see. I get it. Okay.
Yeah. And you could do kind of like a hybrid model, and there are interesting things you can do with that.
Okay. If the actors let me, because they're actually might be contracted.
Well, and it might be something that you just do live, but most of these you can just get it approved once, and then it's good for a year, sometimes 2 years, and you can teach it as many times as you want.
Oh, okay.
Once it's approved.
Thanks.
Yeah.
So Michelle, I just have a question. I'm still going back and forth in my mind of how you answered the question and kind of thinking through, is it best for me to apply as an agency? And so if I apply as an agency under my name, and then each time I want to do a CEU, well, you said the agency is the one who approves CEUs.
Okay, so you're talking about being a provider, right?
I just want to I want to do CEU, do trainings where people get CEUs, but I want my agency name to be out there, and then I am the provider of the CEU.
Yeah, so we're talking about two different things. One is the name of the company that is the CEU approved CEU provider, and that's what's across your certificate. That's what I always think of it as, is picture the CEU certificate, what name is across the top?
So you're saying name of CEU business?
Yes, exactly. Like what is the name? And some of the applications will even call it that. What is the CEU business name?
Okay, so then that's one application, and then every time I want to do a training, a CEU training, I have to apply.
If you're doing single course applications, you would have to apply. But if you're doing a provider application, like I said, you may have to have done 3 in the past, or there may be other criteria depending which one you're looking at. But you can apply to be a provider, but it's usually more rigorous. So a lot of times I don't suggest starting there. I would suggest getting a couple under your belt as single course approvals, and then apply to be a provider. And that's when you can be the person approving a course. So like if you say, hey, person who works for me, hey, Steve, you want to do a training about whatever topic you're interested in, and then he would write you out an outline, and you would know the criteria and be able to say, yes, this is approved, this meets the criteria. You wouldn't have to send it through again.
Right. Okay.
But a single course, yes, you have to send in Steve's, you have to send in yours, you have to send in everybody's separate. So I say start with one.
Do the single course one first.
Do one single course first. Start there. Let's get this out into the world and off the ground. And get you some confidence and get you started. And then down the road, you can be. Like I'm working towards becoming an ASWB provider, but I'm going to go ahead and teach 3 separate courses as single courses, and then apply to be a provider.
And those single courses, you're submitting through ASWB to get approval.
Yes, I'm submitting to my state first because my state doesn't need my slides and all that.
Yep.
Teach it through my state, record it, send it to ASWB, get it approved through them. And then once I have 3 of those, then I can be a provider. And that's when you can really go big. That's when you can host a conference, sponsor a conference.
Okay, so I'm going to start with my Illinois Department of Professional Regulation first.
Perfect.
Do that, and then go to ASW or one of the big ones. Okay.
Yeah, for the most part, that's the easiest way to start is your state, your license.
Right.
Sometimes though, there are some where it does make more sense to go with a bigger one first. Just depending, you know, like I said, they're all different. I can help you look at it, take a look at that list that's in the course. It's also on that Google Doc I made you. And start looking at your state, your license first. See what you come up with.
Okay.
And then, you know, let us know in the Voxer group or the Facebook group where you'd like to start.
Okay.
Okay, so that's what we're working on this week is figuring that out and starting to look at the application, familiarize yourself with it, get clear on what it's going to take. And then next week, we'll get really clear on your topic.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
You're welcome. I love this stuff. I think it's fun. Okay, any other questions before we wrap up for the day?
Only if someone else doesn't. I do.
Okay, go ahead, Kathy.
I've tried to, it's one that maybe you want to do on email. It's up to you. But Voxer, I can't seem to figure it out.
That's new. Okay. Yeah.
And I got in it and I tried to find you and I don't know how to find you.
Oh, so. Okay. Well, I'll try to find you and add you to the group chat for the mastermind. Okay. Because I love Voxer because it's so quick to just hop in there and leave a voice message or a text.
Okay.
I really like to communicate that way, but some of the members from before wanted a Facebook group just to have a space, you know, on social media, which is great and fine. But for a quick, like, well, and like Laura emailed me today, can you send me the link? I always check my email. So if you ever want me to look at something bigger, like, hey, I wrote out an agenda and I will invite all of you to submit that stuff. And I'd love to look over it for you because it gets very interesting when it comes to what verbs you can use in your objectives. If anybody's done CEUs or anything like this before, like a lot of them don't like things like learn, know, understand. They want to hear, you know, identify, discuss. So I can help you wordsmith all that. And those are the things that you may want to email to me. And then I will ask your permission if you're okay with me sharing it with the group. I'll just make you a little Loom video or something where I go through it.
And do you have to pay for your professional? I just did the free one. Is that what's missing? Because maybe I need to pay the $3 a month for it, or?
No, I have the professional because I can do a group and but you should be able to do everything with the free one. Yeah, you don't need it. I just need to find you. I just need to find you out there in Voxer world and bring you into the fold. That's all.
I tried finding you and I couldn't figure out even how to contact you. So
I'll find you.
Okay. I'm C. Himlin. I think I sent that before.
C. Himlin. Perfect. Yeah. Okay. Right. Anybody else having trouble getting into the Voxer or anything like that?
Did you say you created a Voxer group already?
I did. Yes, I made a group for us. Let's see. You're not in it yet, Samantha?
I just created it like whenever I signed up last week or so. I did find you, but I didn't send you a message yet.
Oh, okay. Yeah, so I just need to add you to the group.
Oh, okay. It's just S. Getha, my first initial, last name.
S. Getha, Samantha. Okay, just added you. You're in.
Cool.
Okay, thanks. And then C. Himlin. Kathy.
Yes.
Kathy. Boom, you're in. Okay. So once you see that group pop up, just say hi. So we've all got you there.
What is the name of I think I applied for the Facebook too, but I couldn't.
Oh, okay. I'll double check that one too.
Okay.
I had made it.
Sorry.
No, it's fine. I had made the Facebook group private and then I realized that does not work because the link only lasts 48 hours. I had to make it visible. I'm sorry, it's private but visible. When you make it hidden, it's impossible to share with people. So I had to make it private but visible, and it is now.
So if I'm searching, do I search for the group or say search for your name specifically
On Voxer or Facebook?
on Boxer?
On Voxer, look for me, Michelle Risser. It's what is my Voxer? Hang on,
I think
I'll
it's just
tell you.
M Rizzer.
M Risser. Yeah, that would make sense.
M Rizzer. Okay. M R
Yeah.
R
There it
I
is.
MRISSER.
S E R.
It
Send
wouldn't let me find you
Hmm.
before, but now I see the group.
Okay,
so I'm
now
in.
so now I've got Sam and Kathy. Yep, you're both here. And I already had Jessica and Stephanie. Anybody else not in the Laura, you're not in the Voxer group yet. Are you on
No.
Voxer yet?
Yeah, I have the app and I'm
What's your name?
probably El Vargas. I don't really know.
Okay. All right, I'll find you.
Okay.
Okay. I'll find you. I'll get you in the, and then I'll drop the I'll just drop the Facebook group link in the Voxer chat
Okay.
once we're all in Voxer together.
Okay. So I just sent you a message that said hello.
Okay,
Just-
perfect.
Oh no. Oh, you know what? No, I looked up Michael rather than Michelle.
You just said hi to Michael, wherever he is.
I was like, oh my God,
He
that's
or
it.
she.
Okay, I'll find you.
Okay, yeah. Find me and
El
send me a
Rizzer.
message
Yeah,
and
here
I'll
you are.
okay, perfect. All right, everybody. Are we good for today? Have a starting point? All
Yeah,
right.
thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you so
I'm
much.
so glad you're all here. I'm so excited to work with you over the next few months. And yeah,
Thank you.
I'll talk to you all very soon and we'll meet again in 2 weeks.
Okay.
Okay. Bye, everybody.
Thank you. Nice to
You're
meet everyone.
welcome.
Thank you.
Bye.